Hey, what's up guys? So Valentine just released a new firmware update for the V1 Gen 2, and so far this firmware update actually looks to be pretty excellent. It's the March 2024 update, and it updates the detector to version 4.1032. The update process itself is pretty straightforward. You can just update using your phone. The update takes about 6 or 7 minutes or so using the Valentine app. And once you get it updated, there's a couple really nice changes. And so in this video, let's go ahead and go over what all the new improvements are with this latest version of the V1 Gen 2. So starting off here, let's take a look at Valentine's changelog. The first thing that they mentioned is that they've improved the K-band reactivity. And I actually went out to go test this earlier today, and I can confirm that, yeah, it's much faster than before. The V1 used to be nice and quick on Ka-band, but was kind of slower on K-band. Now, testing with the previous firmware version, it would typically take about a second or so for the detector to alert when it detects a K-band radar gun. After this latest update, though, it now alerts much faster, taking often less than a third of a second to alert to K-band. Furthermore, it's now much more reliable at alerting to brief signals as well. Of course, we're going to need to do a lot more testing to see exactly how well all this stuff works. I've already seen some results posted on the forum, like Noah WL, for example. He found that with his Genesis VP K-band gun, the reactivity was much improved. And then Bag and Drag, who makes the different radar companion apps like V1 Companion, he's done some testing with the Falcon HR as well, and just like me, he found that he used to be able to sneak shots past the previous version of the detector, but now with this latest update, he's no longer able to do so. Now, one of my questions, of course, is how much this impacts, well, blind spot filtering, K-band filtering, especially if you're kind of cutting down some of the delays here in the detector. However, if you take a look at the changelog, Valentine also mentions that they've improved the filtering of signals from blind spot monitors in other vehicles. And so it sounds like we've got a mix of both improved performance and improved filtering. We're going to have to drive around, of course, to see exactly how well it performs and how many falses we get with this latest update. So for those of you who are also updating, definitely help keep us posted. You can comment either down in the comment area of the video or join us over on the forum where we're all discussing this update and sharing our experiences. And I'll link to the discussion thread and all of the other important resources for you down underneath the like button. Now, the next change that Valentine mentioned is that they've improved the responsiveness of directional arrows when passing strong radar sources. And to test this out, I drove out to some speed signs. On the first pass, I got no alert, which has happened before. It's actually very common with radar detectors. I've done a whole video on why they sometimes alert to speed signs, but not always. And on all the other passes, the detector alerted just fine. Now, starting off coming back to the speed sign, where the speed sign is actually shooting the other direction and hitting me from back behind after I pass, the arrow flip was excellent here with this new V1. Now, that said, usually the arrow transition works better when you're passing a source that's going to be hitting you from back behind like that, just because you've got a nice strong signal from behind. And so I turned around and retested from the front, and even with the speed sign hitting me right in the front, again, the detector did an excellent job with the arrows transitioning as I passed the speed sign. And so this seems to work well here in both directions. Then coming back one last time, again passing the speed sign here on the left, the arrows yet again did an excellent job of letting me know exactly where the source of that radar signal was. Now for these speed signs, I didn't do an A/B test with the old and new firmware, but with this new firmware, again, it's doing a very nice job. Now the next improvement here is that Valentine has actually added 3 different levels for adjusting the Ka-band sensitivity. You see, over the years, Valentine has experimented with increasing the sensitivity of the detector, which is of course great, but that has come at the expense of some additional Ka-band false alerts. And so now we have a couple different options here as far as kind of balancing performance versus filtering. And to take a closer look at this, let's go ahead and pull up the app. We're going to go into the options here for the profile that we're currently using, and then we're going to go into the special settings option, and at the bottom you can see we've got the option here for the Ka-band sensitivity. The default option there is full sensitivity, and if we pull up the options, you can see we've got 3 different options. We've got full sensitivity, original sensitivity, and relaxed sensitivity. Now as far as what that means, we're going to cancel and then just hit this red eye icon. And we got a little pop-up here that kind of explains what these different options are. Now the full sensitivity option, this is what we've had before, like with the previous version of this update. This is the default option that it's going to be using. This is going to be giving you the maximum range and maximum performance with the detector, but as I mentioned earlier, it can come at the expense of some Ka-band false alerts. Now if you like, you can actually dial back the sensitivity to what the detector was like when it originally launched. As you can see, same range as the V1 Gen 2 as its 2020 introduction. So if you still want great performance, but you don't want to deal with some of the Ka-band false alerts, you can dial it back to the original sensitivity option. And then finally, they've got a third option here for the relaxed sensitivity. It says still great range, but fewer alerts from fantastic distances. So again, you're kind of balancing, all out performance and responsiveness and range and everything, or maybe fewer false alerts. Again, we're gonna have to do some testing, right, to see like the impact of range and performance and filtering and all this kind of stuff. This is where testers come into play. This is where people like you and me who are just driving with the detectors every day, like, again, go ahead and start using it. Share your experiences in the real world over on the forums or in the comments, and let's kind of just together figure out like what sort of impacts are we seeing to performance and testing. What sort of impacts are we seeing to false alerts driving around on the road, you know? So I'm really glad to see these options made available. Valentine has given us the full sensitivity option and the original sensitivity option, and I guess now we've got that relaxed option as well if you want like the quietest experience possible on Ka-band. And finally, the last change has to do with their Bluetooth protocol with the Detector communicating with different apps. Valentine has mentioned that they've implemented some ESP requests from third-party developers. And over on Valentine's GitHub page, they've got a PDF with the user guide for their extended serial protocol or their Bluetooth communication protocol. And if you take a closer look, there's now 3 new options here available for Bluetooth communication. The first option has to do with when the Detector picks up a junk signal, like when it alerts to Ka-band, but then it realizes like, oops, whoops, my bad, that was actually a false alert on Ka-band. So it throws a junk out signal or a J out. It now has the ability to communicate these J outs from the Detector to the app, and so the apps can now respond accordingly. The second change was a little confusing when I first read it, but thanks to D3D3 and the forums for helping clarify. Essentially, you know how when the Detector's connected over Bluetooth, you've got that blue Bluetooth icon on the display? Looks like we've now got the option to turn that blue icon on and off if you like. And then finally, you know those 3 new Ka-band sensitivity options? Well, the Bluetooth protocol has just been updated to support the new sensitivity options. And so overall, we now have an updated Detector with improved performance and improved false alert filtering. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we're all still in the middle of doing our testing and driving and whatnot, so please feel free to join us over on the forums and share your experiences, or of course down in the comment area below. Down in the video description, I'll link to where we're discussing this, where you can order the V1, and where you can download the apps. The Detector itself, you update using the free V1 connection app. It's available for both Android and for iOS. I'm sure at this point all the different app developers are busy updating their apps as well to support these new features and functionality, but either way, I think this is a pretty solid update here from Valentine, and it makes me like the Detector even more. And so with that said, if you run a V1 Gen 2, I would definitely recommend, based on what we've seen so far, you can go ahead and update your Detector and enjoy the improved performance and the improved false alert filtering. Thanks so much to Valentine for continuing to listen to their users and update their products accordingly. And thanks to all you guys for watching the video, hanging out, and just chatting radar detectors. So I hope you guys are doing well. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.